coming through. Maybe if I turned on my mic, I would come through better. Are you okay now? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Putnam County Planning Commission. This is our regular monthly meeting for the month of December. Going to go through a few preliminary things, and then we've got a few announcements to make and a few housekeeping chores to do. Got too much stuff up here. This is a public hearing, and we are the Putnam County Planning Commission. We are the designated local planning agency for the county as described under Title 11, Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes. And we function under the authority of Articles 11 and 12 of the Putnam County Land Development Code. The primary responsibility of the commission is to serve as an advisory body to hear and make recommendations to the County Board of Commissioners on matters related to provisions of and proposed amendments to the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan and the Putnam County Land Development Code. The members of this committee will review each application and make recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners at a regularly scheduled meeting on January 21st. However, R20-009 will be heard after adoption of the by the BOCC of LM 20-001. Well, that's underneath there. We will call each case by name and number. A member of staff will brief the board on the case and make their recommendation to us. At that time, we will ask the owner or the agent of the applicant to come forward and to speak, should they wish. It's not required. And tell us about the case. After that, we will, and the board may interact with either the staff or the owner applicant. After that, we will take questions from the public or comments from the public. We'll ask each one to come up and state their name and address and address the board. We'd like to ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes if at all possible. All comments should be directed to the commission and not to other people in the audience. Before speaking, we will ask each person to be recognized, come forward, and identify his or herself. After all persons wishing to speak have been heard, we will entertain a motion from the commission. The motion will be voted on by the commission members and become our recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners will make the final determination regarding the application. Before we start, there are 2 pieces of housekeeping I would like to do. Number 1, we are sadly losing our board attorney. George Young has been a valuable member of our commission over the past several months, and we're sad to see him go. He has done an outstanding job, and we laud him on all that he has done and how quickly he ramped up to what we needed and what we were doing. And George, I'd like for you to introduce the gentleman who will be taking your place.
Since he's already got my seat and my microphone, I'll come over here. First, thank you very much for those kind words. I appreciate very much the time I got to spend with you. I know most of it was over Zoom or virtually. Learned quite a bit. I was hoping that the timing would allow me the opportunity to at least see the future land use portion of our duties to see it through, but that's...
You may always come to our meetings and be with us.
I may do that. If nothing else, keep an eye on Mike and see what he's going to do. So I appreciate very much the hard work you guys have, guys and ladies, I don't want to use the wrong terminology, that you've put into this. I've been very impressed with how you've handled it and how you've approached each of the issues. Unfortunately for me, due to my wife's promotion, I'm in a position now where I can't ethically remain in the position I'm in, if that makes sense to everybody without going into detail. However, my understanding is that Mr. Mike Perry has been retained by the county to represent the boards, in particular this board and some others that I represented. I've known Mike for a long time, gone to church with him, had cases with him, consulted with him. I think you're in very good hands. I do. He has a very big interest, keen interest in government affairs. So I think he'll serve you well. And if you'll notice, he dresses better than I do too. So I told Mike I would remain available to him for any questions, any historical information he needs, or any of the things I've worked on for the commission. or for the board, happy he can reach out to me anytime. So other than that, I'm going to get out of your hair and let you get back to work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, George.
Thank you, George.
The other thing in housekeeping that I would like to call your attention to is a paragraph that is printed and is before you. I will read it out loud. You're welcome to join with me, but this is something that I think we need to remember every time we meet. And it's something I think we need to follow every time we meet. As a member of the Putnam County Planning Commission, I pledge to come to meetings prepared for the items on the agenda, willing and ready to listen carefully and courteously to make informed decisions based on the facts presented and what I feel is in the best interest of the people and businesses of Putnam County. I will refrain from unnecessary interruptions, and I will be appreciative of and respectful toward applicants, members of staff, and other members of this commission. I will support the decisions made by the majority, and I will be fair and objective in all that I do as a member of the Putnam County Planning Commission. Thank you. The first case we're going to hear is PUD 20-003. Mr. Brown.
Madam Chair and Planning Commission, if I may take one little privilege, I would like to introduce Jenny Kidd, our new
Thank you.
staff assistant for planning. All of you will get to know her extremely well. She will be sending out the packets, contacting you about meetings and such. So I just want to take that opportunity to introduce her. She's been here, I think this is her second week, so
Okay, guys, don't scare her off.
she's still learning where everything is.
Jenny, we're glad to have you. And we'll try to be as kind as we possibly can to you and help you get through the learning curve. A year from now, if you don't know everything, I'm going to worry. But next week, I don't care. Mike might, but I'm not going to worry about that.
All
Thank
right.
you.
With that, again, Mike Brown, Pine Development Services. First item on the agenda is PUD 20-003. The applicant is Florida Renewable Partners. The agent is Kimley Hornan, Inc. or Associates, I'm not sure what, can't remember, but Kimley Horn's the agent. And the request is to rezone 383 acres from agriculture to planned unit development. And the purpose of the request is to facilitate the development of a 74.5 megawatt photovoltaic solar facility. Just a little background. Again, it's the photovoltaic solar panels will convert sunlight into electricity, which will be distributed to an on-site substation and then distributed onto the electric grid. The facility will be unmanned when it's in operation and fully developed. The project site presently is undeveloped and has been utilized for active agricultural purposes. And the future land use designation of the property is Ag 2, and the zoning on the property is agriculture. Here is an aerial of the site. The property, this falls directly on the county line with Flagler County. Flagler's directly to the east. Everything east of this project is in Flagler County. It's at the end of East End Road. If you've taken a site visit, you know where it's at. It's fairly out there. Future land use, as I indicated, is Ag 2 and Ag 1. Zoning is agriculture. One of the, all PUDs have to be consistent with the comp plan. As part of that consistency, we look at the policies of the comp plan. Policy A193A10D of the comprehensive plan permits passive energy generation projects, which include solar and or wind in Ag 2 and Ag 1 future land use classifications with the approval of PUD. Thus the reason we're in front of you today. Policy A193B5 of the comp plan, the future land use element, allows planned unit development zoning in any of the future land use classifications if the PUD is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comp plan, meets criteria of the land development code, and does not increase the intensity or density of uses of the underlying land use category. In analyzing that, staff finds that the subject property is located in land designated as Ag 2 on the adopted future land use map, and Ag 2 land use allows for passive energy solar generation projects subject to a PUD approval. The proposed PUD zoning is allowed in the A2 future land use category. And the proposed PUD does not increase the intensity or density of uses over what would be allowed in the Ag 2 land use category. The proposed solar facility is consistent with the future land use designation. There are PUD criteria set forth in the land development code, which each PUD must be consistent with and meet. Subsection 402A requires application for rezoning to PUD to present evidence that the rezoning is justified by one or more of the following. That the project, although it may not fit into an existing zoning district, it is consistent with the comp plan and the land use designation. That the proposed development is of such size, scale, complexity, or unique design that it would be inconvenient and inefficient to propose such a project in one of the existing or outside of a PUD designation. The nature of the proposed use at a specific site requires special designated characteristics to preserve and protect the neighborhood character, environment, and other concerns unique to the immediate area, consistent with the comprehensive plan policies. Staff finds that the proposed solar facility does not fit any of the existing zoning districts. The Ag 2 zoning future land use category allows for passive energy generation proposals subject to PUD zoning. Thus, staff believes that the applicant has provided evidence that the rezoning to PUD is justified. The next criteria is that the density and or intensity character of the type of development proposed in the development plan is consistent with the comp plan future land use map. Concurrency management and development plan meets one or more of the objectives set forth in the previous policy or criteria. Staff finds that the development of the passive energy solar facility is allowed in the A2 district or future land use category. The type of development is consistent with the county comp plan. The proposed development plan provides flexibility to meet the changing needs, technologies, and economies and consumer preferences by providing clean source of energy for consumers and reducing greenhouse gases. The next criteria, the uses proposed in the PUD are compatible with the terrain and the existing and planned uses of properties surrounding the project area. And staff finds that the proposed solar facility is a low impact use of the site and is compatible with the surrounding agricultural uses. Solar panels do not produce any sound. The project will produce no odors or other nuisances. Once constructed and completed, the only traffic will be from the maintenance personnel, so there will be no traffic generated from the project once it's developed. The next criteria, the density and/or intensity and character and type of the development proposed in the development is consistent with the comp plan. And again, staff finds that it is in compliance and consistent with the A2 land use category and is consistent with the other goals and objectives of the policy. Yep, that's the next criteria. The residential density of the PUD must comply with the density and limitations of the land use. There's no residential use development associated with this project. Next criteria, usable open space, plazas, and recreational areas provided within the PUD must meet any demand generated and be consistent with the policies of the comp plan. There will be no increase for demand for recreational areas resulting from this development. And open space will be consistent with the policies for the A2 future land use category. And there are no wetlands or sensitive environmental areas on the property. Next criteria, the site of the PUD must be suitable for use in a manner proposed without hazards to persons either on or off the site from the likelihood of increased flooding, erosion, or other dangers. The project has been designed and will be developed in accordance with a stormwater permit from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, which will protect adjacent properties from runoff, and there's no endangerment or threat from flooding off-site. All uses permitted within the PUD will have access to public streets, either directly or by way of private road. The project site will be accessed by an entrance on Tupelo Drive, which is a private road. The facility will be unmanned, so the only traffic will result from during construction. And I will get into that issue a little later when I discuss the agreement. Next criteria. There is sufficient off-street parking and on-street parking for bicycles, automobiles, and other vehicles. Being a solar facility, there's no need for parking for bicycles or automobiles. There will be all construction traffic and equipment will be parked within the site outside of required setbacks. Next criteria, utilities and essential public services, including but not limited to sanitary sewer, potable water, and fire abatement services, solid waste, and other services must be available and have capacity to meet and serve the development. And the facility, since the facility will be unmanned, there is no need for utilities or essential public services for this development. As with all agreement or all planned unit developments, there is a PUD agreement. It was included in your packet in the staff report. Let me hit some of the highlights. And it's not much different than the previous solar facility PUDs you've seen. The agreement is pretty much a lot along the same lines. The project will be developed as a single-phase development and will be required to begin construction within 36 months from the adoption of the PUD ordinance by the BOCC if they choose to adopt it. The project will be developed consistent with the preliminary site plan provided in Exhibit B of the agreement. And again, that was in your packet. East End Road from State Road 100 to the project entrance will be brought back up to pre-construction conditions within 8 months after the completion of construction, and that will be in coordination with the Director of Public Works. So he will have sign-off on that. Access drives and internal circulation shall be approved by Emergency Services and Public Works for compliance with the access requirements for emergency vehicles. and a 10-foot wide landscape buffer will be provided within the project site along the frontage of Tupelo Drive, where there are across from the single-family residence located on Tupelo Drive. The buffer will provide for a minimum of 75% opacity within 36 months of the completion of construction. So just a little added buffering for those residents that presently exist on Tupelo Drive. Findings. Staff finds that the applicant has presented evidence that the rezoning to PUD is justified. The proposed rezoning and development is consistent with the future land use designation. The proposed project is compatible with the existing land uses in the area. Development is consistent with the requirements of the PUD zoning as listed in the Land Development Code, and consistent with the comprehensive plan goals, objectives, and policies. Staff recommends approval of the request to rezone 383.08 plus or minus acres of land from agriculture to planned unit development, subject to inclusion of the Florida Renewable Partners Solar Energy Center PUD development agreement that was provided in your packet. Do you have any questions of staff at this point?
Any questions of Mr. Brown? Yes, sir.
I have a question. It's when I went out and visited the site, it appeared that whenever I look at the site plan and when I look at the site. Microphone. Thank you. I was warned about that and I just didn't heed it. Did everybody hear me up till now? Yeah. It looked like that Tupelo Road, that this property actually encroached, or it actually took in Tupelo Road, which looks like a used road that goes all the way back to the very back of it. Is that going to be what happens to that road if if you only get a 10-foot landscape easement? That doesn't seem like that looks like it's going to take out Tupelo Road.
Tupelo Road is a private road, but it will be maintained in existence where it's at. The applicant I believe has committed, and they'll be able to respond better to maintain that, even though it's a private road, as it is and where it's at.
Okay.
Mike, I know that there's a lot of unpaved road going out to that site. During the construction, with the delivery of materials and equipment needed to do the actual installation, will the road be maintained intermittently during that time so that it's passable and safe for passage?
The agreement requires not only bringing it back up, but during construction to maintain that road facility.
Okay. All righty. Any other questions of Mr. Brown? Is the owner applicant here and would like to speak? Please come forth to the microphone. Give us your name and address and your presentation.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Mark Shelton. I'm with Kimley Horn Associates. My address is 12740 Grand Bay Parkway West, Suite 2350, Jacksonville, Florida 32258. I am the authorized agent for Florida Renewable Partners through Michael Revels, the property owner. I'm here tonight with Erico Lopez, the project manager, and Jim Bush, both with FPL. Real quickly, we're before you today, as you know, to ask for your approval of a PUD, which will allow our solar energy center in this agricultural area. We agree with staff's findings and appreciate the hard work that they've put into this, and we agree that it's consistent and with the recommendation of approval. With that quick introduction, I'd like to introduce you to Erica Lopez, the project manager, who has a brief presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair.
You're also with Kimley Horn.
Oh, no, ma'am. My name is Erico Lopez. I'm a senior project manager here on behalf of Florida Renewable Partners. I'm in charge of the FRP Solar, FRP Putnam County Solar Development. Thank you, sir. So, First and foremost, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to have us on the docket here today. My team is extremely excited to not only present before you and inform you about our project, but we're very, very excited to become business partners with Putnam County. I do have a presentation. I'll try to get through it as quickly as possible, but I want to be as informative, so if there's any questions throughout this presentation, please feel free to interrupt me. So one of the first things that we like to showcase are the characteristics of a solar site. The solar sites that FRP, Florida Renewable Partners, builds are very similar to the ones that our sister company, Florida Power and Light, builds. These sites are virtually silent. There are no lights at night, no increase in traffic except for maybe 1 or 2 trips a month to maintain the site. There's no water or fuel needed. The solar panels are cleaned by rain, so there's no use of water. And the solar panels sit close to the ground. One of the things that's obviously beneficial as a result of solar energy is that it is zero emissions and is equivalent, this particular site, which is 74.5 megawatts, is equivalent to removing 12,000 cars off the road. And enough energy is produced from this site to power approximately 15,000 homes. In introducing myself, I'd like to really just go over quickly about who we are as a company, what is our affiliation, who are we backed by. Florida Renewable Partners is owned by NextEra Energy. NextEra Energy is the world's leader in both wind and solar energy. We have wind and solar plants in 33 states. And so by telling you this, I'm trying to let you know that you're not dealing with a fly-by-night company. We are, NextEra Energy owns Florida Power and Light and Gulf Power. And so basically what we do as the little sister company to FPL and to Gulf Power is we build our sites exactly like them. We're efficient in what we do, what we say is what we do, and our brand is just as important as making sure that FPL's brand is kept intact. So we don't want to step outside of anything that FPL, that we promise. Just to quickly go over the site is approximately 393 acres, currently row crops, located at East End Road and Tupelo Drive. The site will at the end of the day have just about 260,000 solar panels, and the site will interconnect to an FPL line about a mile north of the site. And essentially, we've already signed an interconnection agreement with FPL for that. Some of the potential economic developments of the site are obviously enhanced property values. At the time of construction, we'll have approximately 150 to 200 construction workers on site. That'll last from 7 to 11 months. That goes anywhere from steel workers, various craft skills, carpenters, etc. One of our main goals is to obviously hire locals, so similar to FPL, we want to make sure that we're employing people that are of the area first, and then outsource as we need. One of the things that we really pride ourselves in, just like FPL, is communication. Obviously, in this time during the pandemic, it's been very hard to host any large gatherings. Usually we have open houses in which we bring members from every team that touches this project, from environmentalists, engineers, development, anyone, to basically afford the public an opportunity to ask questions. As a result of this, the pandemic, we had to shift gears, call an audible, and send out mailers to neighbors and direct abutters. We did so and offered a number of ways in which abutters could communicate with us. They could send us letters, email us, request a phone call or teleconference, or have a socially distanced meeting. As a result of that process, we actually were able to talk to some of our abutters One of the abutters, Mr. Browning, who lives, John Browning, who lives directly north and northwest of our site, brought about some concerns. And as a result of that conversation and that interaction, we were able to agree to, first of all, inform on some questions that Mr. Browning had, and also agree to a condition of a vegetation buffer along the northern property of our site. Currently, the site is, his property is zoned ag, but we understand that there could be some residential there in the future, and therefore we are pledging to put a veg buffer there. But there were also other questions with regards to the site. One being, will there be a fence around the site? Yes, as a result of liability issues, we must fence our sites. Obviously, for safety concerns, we have to fence our sites, so there will be a 7-foot fence on that site. And then there was also the question with regards to Tupelo Drive. That road will be kept intact. The access and egress of that site will not be affected. The way that you use it today is the way that you can use it after this project is built. So we wanted to make sure to communicate that to you, members of the board, that although the pandemic has caused some hindrances in how we do outreach, we've tried as best as possible to make sure that we are communicating and are transparent. As a part of our presentation, we have a quick video that basically will show a illustrative rendering of how the site will go from what it is currently today to what it will be. And if you just bear with me, I'll get through that. Hopefully, if this works. So that concludes my presentation. I tried to be as brief as possible. One thing that visual did not show was the actual landscape buffer. I think something was loaded inappropriately, in which it was a older presentation, but there will be, as promised and detailed in staff's presentation, a vegetated buffer along Tupelo Drive in front of the residences and along, as stated earlier in my presentation, along the northern portion of the site along Mr. Browning's property.
Thank you.
So with that said, I'll open it up for any questions
Yes,
if
any
there are
questions
at this
from the
point.
board?
I just have one.
Yes, sir.
I noticed in the PUD it had a 35-foot height, and these things are only like 8, 9 feet tall. Why is it 35-foot height?
That does not ring a bell. That must have been a typo, but these, as you saw, yes, these do not reach 35 feet in any way, shape, or form, so.
Remember the microphone, Joel.
Yes, sir.
A couple of questions. The fencing you're putting around our property, what's the height of that fencing?
I believe the height is 7 feet.
7 feet?
With a 1-foot barbed wire up on
Okay,
the
well,
top of that.
my only question there is I think there's a lot of hunting goes on around there, and I'm wondering about, I've watched deer jump over some awfully high fencing, and, I don't know what the possibility of them damaging these units are, which leads to my next question. What is the life cycle of each one of these panels, and when the time comes that they have to be disposed of, are there any environmental issues there with them?
So that's a very good question, sir. I think that in terms of the life cycle, the technology is changing every day. We have been, installing panels that can last. We want to have those panels on there as long as possible. In terms of kind of dictating to you the exact life cycle, I'd have to get back to you on that, just to understand what kind of panels we're putting on this project. Because a panel from a project that was installed last year will have a much shorter life expectancy than one that is going to be.
I think you have a prompt behind you.
Nope. The project in itself will be there for 20 to 30 years. The panel is something that I will definitely get back to you in terms of when we replace those.
Okay. If some kind of wildlife does damage a panel, are there any environmental issues caused by that?
No, we have not encountered anything with regards to the damage of the panels. What would happen is it would crack just like your windshield panel. No dust or anything, no chemicals are within the panel. It would break as if a shard of glass. Obviously, we subscribe to strict environmental standards, and anything with regards to these panels, there are no leaching chemicals or anything like that. It breaks kind of like a
I know
fragment
deer
of
are
glass.
awfully stupid. They don't,
Right. They don't follow anybody's rules.
they follow no rules at all.
Right, yes, sir.
The transmission line that will go north to the FPL site, where will that run?
That'll actually run along a adjacent landowner's property. And the reason why I'm not naming the
That's okay.
landowner is we're working on a deal right now.
Okay.
But essentially, we will gain an easement that will allow us to put those poles there and run them along to the transmission corridor.
And how will the vegetation be maintained ongoing once the project is installed?
So what we'd like to do, it'll be maintained just as much as the grounds and the facility. But what we'd like to do is plant native species so that it doesn't get too invasive or grow out of control. But we will maintain it just like we will the grass located on the property. So we will have a contract, hopefully with the local vendor, that will maintain that for us.
Okay. Any other questions of the presenter? Thank you very much. Do you, the rest of your team, have anything to say? You don't? You're through, and you don't have anything to say? We're fine. We do have some speaker cards from Can I talk? From people who would like to address this issue. I can't talk. Leslie Futch, if you would come forward, state your name and your address, and tell us your thoughts. You have to come up to the microphone, please.
I'm Leslie Futch. I live at 164 Tupelo Drive. We, as neighbors, are just concerned.
Okay, you have any specific questions you'd like to see us address?
A lot of the video helped, because I've never really seen them. I've never been around them. Just, I don't want to look at them. So
Right.
when you say buffer, is it a chain link fence?
It's going to be vegetation, it will be trees.
So there's no fence?
There is a fence to protect, to secure the property, and then there will be trees along the outside or inside? Outside.
And how tall are these trees? And
They will grow pretty tall, because I've seen some other installations that have grown quite quickly. You want to come up and address that? All right. Pick a number and come on up.
Hello, I'm Jim Bush with Florida Power and Light, 303 Hastings Road, St. Augustine. The best answer that I can give to that is we have 3 other facilities, Florida Power and Light, within Putnam County, and they're pretty close by. And Hollister and Flora Home are the 2 closest. But if you go out there, you can see kind of what it looked like today.
I mean, I can see visually on that. That's better, but just my thing. I sit on my porch every morning and look at that view and drink my coffee.
Eventually, you'll
we
be
do
seeing
have some real-life examples within the county. If
some
that,
pretty
would be
some pretty
something.
trees out there.
I can give you the specific location if
A
you'd
lot
like
of
that.
the things were answered with traffic, how many people are going to be maintaining it. There's 4 of us that live there, 4 neighbors. So it's really hard to. Oh, can I do what?
Stand closer to the microphone.
Just to see, all the traffic, and we're
Right.
very,
During the construction phase, you are going to have traffic, and you are
Right.
going to have people out there. It's going to be people-y. But once it's constructed and operational, you're not going to hear anything, and you're not going to see anything but the solar panels until the trees come high enough to block that view for you.
Right.
And those solar panels do articulate, so you'll see them this way, and then they'll go over that way and follow the
it's
sun.
just new. It's just something we're not used
Yeah.
to, so. Anybody else? Come in or-
Any other questions?
My new neighbors, they're building a new house. and
Okay,
so-
well, are you Alden Thornton? Or Andy McLean? Andy McLean, come on up.
So the film did clarify a lot, but
Give us your name and address, please, sir.
Andy McLean, 132 Below Drive. So when y'all talk about the shrubs on the fence, I understand y'all are going to plant shrubs, but I mean, are these shrubs going to take 10 years? Like Miss Leslie said, that's where I grew up down there. Like, I didn't move down there to look at a solar panel field.
Right.
Moved there to look at a farm. Look,
And you're going to plant, you're not going to plant seedlings or anything like that? Come on up and tell us.
So the plantings will be 2 feet upon planting, or the plants will be 2 feet at the end of construction. Within 36 months, as stated by staff, they'll get to 6 to 7 feet, blocking our site. What I'd also like to say is that this site will greatly decrease the current dust issue out there as a result of the planting, as a result of the farming, and also with regards to the road, which I believe that was a question. We will, at the beginning of construction, take an actual video of the road, obviously complying with the county standards, but making sure that whatever is existing on the road is actually brought to as good or better standard. But I apologize, this is my own kind of interjection here. I really do appreciate the comments from the neighbors, and I would greatly appreciate if we can talk so that we could be as informative as possible post this hearing and during construction, obviously. So.
And I will tell you, with previous sites, we have seen incredible cooperation with the people that live in the area, and we've seen incredible accommodation made to people who have questions and concerns. The site that would probably be easiest for you to get to is out on Coral Farms Road in Flora Home. if you go out and turn north, turn right off of 100, you're going to go up several miles, and it's going to be over on your left. And already the vegetation is up, so you have to look through the trees to see it. But it's been there now about 4 years.
I think
So, and it's a well-established solar facility that's out there.
And ma'am, if any, Jim Bush again, if any of the neighbors would like to go out there, they can certainly do that on their own, but I can also meet them out there and take them inside if they want an inside look. I'll offer that up to them, so.
You leave some of your business cards up on the counter there, in case anyone would like to do that. All right. And then we have Alden Thornton. Are you through, Mr. McLean?
No, ma'am,
Anything else?
a couple more.
Okay.
You said in the thing, this is gonna last 20 to 30 years. What happens after 20 to 30 years?
So as a part of this project, we have to enter into a power purchase agreement that with an off-taker of the energy, someone who's going to buy the energy. That contract is, can range from 20 to 30 years. If at the end of that contract, the off-taker wants to continue receiving that energy, we would then most likely renew and keep that project there. But if for some reason the off-taker did not want to do that, and we couldn't find someone to buy the energy, then we could obviously decommission the site and return the site to farmable land. Obviously, it would be still our property, and that would be a decision on our part, but most likely our intent is to keep this as a solar field, hopefully generating more clean, renewable energy. So.
And your next question, sir.
And somewhat clarified it, but Tupelo Drive, right now, our easement's roughly halfway across Tupelo Drive. With this project, is Tupelo Drive as it sits right now, it's gonna stay that way? We're not gonna have to move it over? It's gonna...
No, sir, sorry, I have to keep on for the record. As it is today, yes, it will not be, the access and egress will not be impeded on Tupelo Drive. You will be able to traverse that drive as you do today. Yes, sir.
Anything else, sir? Okay, Alden Thornton.
I'm Alden Thornton at 668 East End Road, and I appreciate the time to, come learn about this. That's an interesting situation. I moved there 3.5 years ago to enjoy the rural life, and this could be a huge change, maybe just a regular change, and everybody's going to get along with it fine. The transmission line location is a big interest of mine. Where's it going to be? It's top secret. Wherever it's going to be, I don't want it going near my house. I don't know where these giant concrete poles are going. I drive down 207 every day past the plant in Elkton, and I see the huge poles going up there. The transmission line, it's a pretty good sized deal, so I'd like to know exactly where those transmission lines are where they're gonna get into the grid, so if they're coming right down East End Road, or they're going through the woods, or wherever they're gonna go.
So the transmission line is going to be along Yelvington Road on the northeast side of the project, so furthest away from the east end.
You're calling the north side the west side. That's what somehow it's confusing, because we look at it
Sure.
from Tupelo Drive, that's east. You think that's north, so
Sure.
it's east.
So I don't know if,
You can point out on that
do I
picture
do-
right there, it'd be great.
there you go. So right there where it says a collector yard, the transmission line will run north from there into the FPL line. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, that's very helpful.
Yes, sir.
And it goes that direction for some time, right?
Yes, sir, about a mile or so.
Okay. The nighttime lighting that we're gonna have.
Microphone.
Sorry. The nighttime lighting, as I go by the Yellington plant every night, it's not very dark at night there. It's like a carnival. It's very brightly lit, and, I took a video out my car window the other night. It's just brightly lit. It's just like daylight there. So if that's what we got, that's what we got. But the buffer needs to be discussed, because the lights are 20 and 30 feet in the air, and at the collection area especially. So I'm just curious about the lighting at nighttime.
Okay. Can you answer that?
I can show you the video.
So, yeah, I would love to see the video. During operations, there will be no lights, maybe during construction, but obviously we'll have to adhere to the county standards for construction operation. So I'd be more than happy to engage and share kind of how our operations or construction will work and discuss lighting.
There'll be security lighting at the collections area probably,
Most likely, yes, ma'am.
but that's on the back side of the property where it's not close to anything.
Correct. It's along Yelvington Road on the northern portion of the project, furthest away from the residential. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Thornton? Microphone.
Microphone before I get fussed at there. So the 35-foot height limit is kind of interesting to me. I'm a home builder before I moved here, and that's the maximum height for most residential dwellings. So if the PUD is approved for 35 feet, in 10 weeks or 15 weeks, somebody says we don't build houses here, they have the 35-foot height approval, and then we've all gotten off track. So
The PUD agreement also states that the panels will be, I think, no more than 6 feet off the ground. Is that correct?
it's
6
9
or 8 feet?
I believe there's, the mat
They'll
goes
be low.
6 to 8 feet, I think is the maximum.
And
my
2 feet, I
concern
think,
would
was
be
the
during
minimum.
a change of use. At a change of use, if the PUD's already approved for 35 feet, the 35-foot limit's already in there. That's what I'm getting at.
Mike, does that need to be amended
The
in the PUD?
35 feet, and, I mean, to be honest with you, 35 feet is is the standard height that the comp plan allows for any development, and it was carried forward from that into the PUD. You'll see that in almost all our PUDs. It's the maximum height of anything that's allowed in the county, outside of some, in your Ag 2 and residential zoning districts. That's where the
ask you that. I'm gonna
35
ask
feet
a-
came from.
A question of the owner applicant. Would you all consider an amendment to the comp plan to have that as a lower height limit?
Yes, ma'am.
And what would that be that you would be comfortable with?
Anywhere from, 15 to 20 feet. I mean, the only reason why the 15 feet or 20 feet would be something that would be comfortable would be in case there is a shack or a shed for any maintenance tools. But
Security light.
that's the only issue.
Okay. Would lowering that limit to 20 feet be more palatable to you, Mr. Thornton?
Make my day. I hope it'll make your day too, so we don't make sure we don't end up with the 11,000 or 12,000 homes we just put power in right in everybody's front yard. So, I mean,
Yeah, I think when we bring it back to the board, we can certainly discuss that as an option.
one last question.
Yes, sir. Please step to the mic.
The landscaping plan, if we had a caliper tree and a location of center lines of tree to tree to tree, then it would make, pretty easy to understand how the vegetation's gonna be, because the caliper to tree gives you the height and all that kind of stuff. And one of the neighbors that lives right across the street is a landscaper. Just throw that out for consideration. Not me, but one of the people that lives
Good
right across the
commercial
street
there.
is a landscaper in Putnam County, so they might be considering that, but.
Okay. And I think, again, please pick up the business cards that these gentlemen are going to leave, and feel free to contact them. I'm just going to make your day better. But feel free to contact them if you've got any questions. And that
Absolutely.
goes for all of you who live in that area. If you've got questions, don't hesitate to contact these contractors, because they are very responsible to the public's concerns. Okay?
If we could get that drawn with the landscape on, it'd be very helpful, then we'd understand if it's a
You can get
1-inch caliper or a 3-inch caliper, we totally understand there's two different trees. So if it's a 1-inch caliper, it's gonna take 20 years to grow in. If it's 3-inch, it's gonna take 6 years to grow in, so there's.
Well, we're going to leave that between you. I think you can get that probably. It's part of our submittal. Is it already prepared?
The landscape plan is part of our submittal, and you'll find that in the packet, so it's a public document.
Okay, so you could actually get that from Mr. Brown.
Thank you, members of the board.
Last thing, I'd just like to thank you guys for entertaining our questions and our concerns. It's obviously a big change for all of us that live there. It's not that many of us, but it's a huge change to all of us, and we just appreciate your time.
A little different,
Yes, ma'am, it sure is.
but they'll be good neighbors. It'll be a quiet neighbor, let's put it that way.
Before you leave, sir, let me ask a question of Mike. This is what we're doing today is for the solar.
Yes.
Is for the solar. If, after 20 years, they decide they're not gonna do it and it's gonna revert back to build houses, they'd have to come before us again.
Oh, yes.
The PUD would have to be
So,
changed.
your concern is no concern.
That's a good concern. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other people who would like to come forward and speak either for or against this project? We would like you, before you leave, to fill out a green card if you haven't already done that. We do need those on our speakers. Okay, well, you're on Andy McLean's and you're Kayla? Okay, come forward and give us your name and address, Kayla, and go for it.
My name's Kayla McLean, 130 Tupelo Drive. I just have one question. We're building currently, so we're not living there. And I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. Sorry, I'm a new mom.
Uh-huh.
Andy, you might have to come ask.
You want to talk to the safety for children in the area during construction?
What are effects of living next to a solar panel?
Okay, what are the
Is
long-term
there
effects?
any radiation? I know it's supposed to be safer than, electricity or like that, but do we have any evidence at all? Because this is all new to our country, however many years.
Mr. Bush, you want to come up
So-
forward and answer that? The safety of living near a solar panel and any side effects or any
So I'll do the best that I can. First off, the solar panels are made out of silicone, which is sand. I think there's a question about chemicals and things. It's actually sand within the actual solar panels themselves. The panels generate as a direct current, and they actually go through an inverter system to become alternating current. So that there is no radiation or emissions or anything within that's generated in the panel itself. I don't know if that helps or
And
not.
the lines running from the panels, are those buried?
Some are and some are not. I don't know at this point if they are, but they'll be on the ground,
Okay.
at the ground level.
But the fence will be secure at all times so
The
that...
fence will be, like Erico said, a 6-foot fence with 1 foot of additional chain link on top of the fence. I doubt a deer could actually get into
Barbed wire,
sight.
yeah.
Right.
Okay. Does that help? Okay.
Thank you.
You're certainly welcome, Kayla. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak? And sir, I'll need you to fill out a green card.
Edward Mayoki, 136 Tupelo Drive. These panels are all going to be on the right side of the road, on Rebels Farm?
Right,
Okay. The other side where he still owns is not going to be touched.
correct. It's going to be on as you drive down Tupelo from East
Gonna
End
be there
Road,
to the
it'll be
right.
on the right side.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay, that's good for me.
Thank you, sir. All right, is there anyone else who would like to speak either for or against this project? At that point, then, I am going to close the public comment section of this meeting, and I will bring it back to the board for motion and discussion, and possibly entertaining the idea of amending that PUD to change the height limitation down to 20 feet.
Got a comment I'd like to make.
Mr. Hafner?
This would be for the folks putting this system in. East End Road and 100, the intersection, is extremely dangerous. I travel back and forth to Flagler Beach a lot, and I've had 3 different instances of people pulling trailers and darn near killing me. I haven't hit one of them yet, but it's been very close. I know with these things being put in, you're going to have contractors with large trucks coming in. You're going to have a lot of contractual labor coming in. I don't know how you can possibly monitor that, but I would certainly encourage all of those vendors and labor folks to be conscious of what they're dealing with at that intersection.
And if it's a problem, I would say go speak with our county brethren and sisters and talk to them about some sort of traffic control device. Any other questions or comments from board? Do I hear a motion for approval or denial of this application?
I'll make a motion that we approve PUD 20-003. Actually, we were going to amend it first. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
With the change in the PUD.
With the change to, it says it's on.
It's on there.
Yeah. With a change of 20 feet, right?
To 20 feet, yes, from 35
With
to
a
20.
maximum height of 20 feet versus 35.
We have a motion to approve the application.
I'll make a motion second, or I'll second the
You'll
motion.
second it. We have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the application for the PUD 20-003 with the change of the height limitation being from 35 feet to 20 feet. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, by the way. Thank you, sirs. We appreciate your being here. We appreciate your continued work in Putnam County, bringing this type of a project in that's a clean energy project, and we certainly support you with that. And folks who live out on Tupelo Road or drive or near there, we thank you immensely for coming in and sharing your concerns, your questions. And if you have any concerns going forward, get in touch with these folks. Call Mike Brown, get their address, because they will respond to you, and they will respond to you and work with you for a common good. So thank you all very much.
The county commission date again?
The county commission date will be, you would ask that, will be, that's all right, I hit it. January 24th, 25th. You've got a kid down in this packet here. Will be January 25th, 2021. And at that time, they will go through a similar presentation, similar public hearing. And if you still have concerns at that point, by all means, be here for that meeting and talk with our county commissioners. We just make a recommendation. They have the final say-so. Okay? Thank you all so very much for being here, and thank you for your attention in this matter. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. We might not be out of here before dark. In fact, I know we won't be out of here before dark. So thank you so much. We'll move on now to LM 20-001, which is an application from the Williams Family Property Investment. Who's making that presentation?
I am. Again, Madam Chair, Planning Commission's Mike Brown, Putnam County Planning Department. LM 20-001, there are two cases. The next case is tied to this. It's a rezoning also for the same property. And to try to speed things up, the presentation will incorporate both requests because the information, background information is the same for the future land use map change and the rezoning. But there will still need to be two separate votes, one for each. So I just wanted to set the framework there. The applicant is Williams Family Property Investments, LLC. The request is for a large-scale future land use map amendment from industrial to Ag 2.
Mike, before you go any further, let me make the announcement that Mr. Schwing had to recuse himself for these two cases because of adjacencies.
Okay.
So if you would go ahead, that needs to be part of the record.
Okay.
That's okay.
But we still have a quorum. So.
Yes, we still have a quorum.
Again, it's a large-scale future land use map amendment from industrial to Ag 2 for 313 acres, and an associated, along with an associated text amendment for the to the future land use element, which I will get into as part of the presentation. And as I indicated, there's a companion zoning map amendment that would change the same 313 acres from planned unit development to agriculture. Presently, the zoning is planned unit development and future land use is industrial. Property is located at 945 North Highway 17 in Palatka. It's just basically across from Seminole Electric. This map shows a general location of the property. Just a little background on it. The subject project includes 6 parcels totaling 313 acres. There's approximately just under 2,000 square feet of frontage on US Highway 17. As I indicated before, there's a companion rezoning and future land use change. In July 2012, the county adopted ordinance 2012-19, which amended the future land use on the subject property from A2 to industrial. This ordinance also included a text amendment to the future land use element, policy A193D, which limited the total amount of development allowed on the site to 3 million square feet of industrial uses. On April 2013, ordinance 2013-06 was adopted by the Board of County Commissioners, which amended the zoning map on the subject property from ag to plan unit development. Along with that, there was a development agreement, as always with all planned unit developments in the county. Here is an aerial showing, you can see the outline of the project site. Here is the current future land use. It's industrial. You can see that the county landfill is to the southwest, and Seminole and Continental Gypsum is across US 17. They're proposing to go to Ag 2 for the future land use. Current zoning is planned unit development. It's surrounded by ag, with the county landfill also being designated a PUD, and along with the Continental Gypsum and Seminole Electric being zoned PUD across the street, across 17. The companion proposal for rezoning would change the property back to agriculture. The existing future land use as industrial is, according to the comp plan, is areas consistent and intended for the primary industrial locations into the future. Both light and heavy industrial are allowed in industrial land use. And part of that comp plan policy prohibits rezoning agricultural future land use to agricultural district without a future land use amendment to an appropriate future land use. Thus, the reason for the companion rezoning. This is the reason for the future land use amendment. The proposed future land use is Ag 2, which are areas consisting in the county that for used as silviculture and rangeland and other agricultural uses. The maximum density is 1 unit per 20 acres, which may, based on a density point score, go down to 1 unit per 10 acres. It also agriculture 2 also limits the commercial and industrial uses that are allowed to commercial and industrial uses that are directly related to agricultural uses. I'm touching on the rezoning also. The existing zoning is PUD, and the proposed is going to agriculture, which the purpose of the agriculture zoning district is to implement the Ag 1 and Ag 2 future land use classifications, and allows agriculture uses related to keeping or maintenance of plants and animals for food and forage, ornamental purposes, etc. Use categories within the ag zoning district are residential, single-family, and agriculture. In analyzing the request, and again, this touches both of the requests, the property is presently today is primarily covered with planted pines and with some limited development and buildings related to silviculture operations. There is a single-family residence on one of the parcels. The property has continued to be utilized for silviculture and other ag purposes since the 2012 land use change and rezoning. There's been no development associated with the intended industrial park. That was the subject of the rezoning and future land use change in 2012 and 2013. The requested amendment would revert the property back to Ag 2 future land use, which it was designated prior to the 2012 land use change. As I mentioned previously, policy A193A6 prohibits rezoning of property in industrial land use to agriculture without a future land use amendment to an appropriate future land use designation. The surrounding properties are generally a mix of agriculture and silviculture uses, primarily to the north and south and a little bit to the west. Other uses in the vicinity include residential, commercial, and industrial uses, primarily located across US 17 to the east. Ordinance 2012-19, adopted in July of 2012, amended the text of the future land use element to include the following wording. Development of the Williams Property Family Investment, Kathy Baker and Tracy Taylor Industrial Site of future land use map amendment LM 12-001 is limited to a maximum of 3 million square feet of gross buildable area of industrial development and is allowed as allowed in policy A193A6. Ordinance 2013-6 included the adoption of a development agreement for the of the development agreement for the US 17 North Industrial Park Plan Unit development. The future land use map amendment from industrial to ag, along with the companion rezoning from PUD to ag, remove the ability of would remove the ability to develop the parcel as an industrial park. Therefore, the policy adopting the limited development on the site is no longer applicable, and staff believes should be deleted. The requested future land use amendment to A2 and rezoning to ag will result in a significant reduction in the impacts associated with the present industrial land use and PUD designation. Staff findings as it relates to the future land use map amendment is that the staff finds that the proposed future land use change of 313 acres from industrial to Ag 2 is compatible with surrounding and existing and planned uses in the area, is consistent with the adopted goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan, will result in a reduction in impacts associated with the present industrial designation, and staff recommends to amend the future land use designation on the subject 313 acres from industrial to Ag 2, and recommends an amendment to the future land use element, deleting the specific policy limiting the development of the site to 3 million square feet of industrial development. Would you, Madam Chair, desire the staff to also go over the findings for the rezoning at this point?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Unless anyone has a question on the board. Please go through the zoning.
Staff finds that the proposed zoning map amendment request from Plan Unit Development to agriculture on the subject 313 acres is consistent, compatible, and in harmony with the zoning and uses in the area. Approval of the companion future land use amendment would bring the rezoning to agriculture, from PUD to agriculture, consistent with the future land use designation. And staff recommends approval of the rezoning from plan unit development to agriculture, along with the abandonment of the development agreement for the US 17 North Industrial Park Plan Unit Development. Do you have any questions of staff?
Any questions of Mr. Brown? Mr. Hafner?
Why on the future land use thing where we're talking about changing that, and I guess it carries over to the zoning as well, is the 3 million square feet of development significant? Why is it even mentioned?
At the time, when this went through in 2012, the philosophy at the state was that you would analyze any land use change with the maximum allowed within the development that would be allowed in the comp plan.
Okay.
That oftentimes exceeded what the real plan would be, and you would have to address all the impacts associated with that development. One way around it was to limit what was a realistic number, and what a lot of local governments, including Putnam County, did at the time was adopt a specific policy that would limit the maximum amount of development for that site. There's a number of those in our comp plan today.
Yeah.
But that's where the 3 million came from. It was, I don't know at the time what our intensity of industrial development would have allowed on 313 acres, but I believe it would probably far exceeded 3 million square feet, and you would have had to address all the impacts associated, traffic, for instance. You would have to assume that all that development, all that traffic was going to be on 17 and the other roads, and have to address those impacts.
Yeah, I was on the board when that took place, but I guess it just seems strange to me that we even have to talk about the 3 million square feet, because when you change the land use plan and the zoning, you eliminate everything that's been established before.
Yeah.
Have you not?
But it's a
Okay.
policy in there, and it just to make sure everything's clean.
Okay.
Right. Anything else from Mr. Brown? Is the owner applicant present and would like to speak? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak either for or against this application? Okey dokey. Well, then I'll bring it back to the board for getting it on the floor and discussing it. What do you want to discuss first, Richard?
A question, why would you change it from industrial to I mean, you can kind of do the same thing that you're doing now. It seems like you're downgrading some. Is it for tax purposes?
Mr. Brown?
All they've indicated to me is that their desire is to grow trees out there. They have no desire to do industrial development. That's what they've passed on to me.
All righty.
I know they
Just a
spent
reminder, Madam Chair, and we need two separate
Two separate
votes, one on
motions,
the
right.
land use change and one on the
Right.
rezoning.
Let's first attend to the map change, LM 20-001. Do I hear a motion?
I so move.
Thank you, Joey. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jerry. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. Now we'll move on to R 20-009. I would entertain a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion.
Joel makes the motion
to approve, correct?
to approve.
Approve, yeah.
Yeah, we're approving this.
I'll second.
And Joey, got my Joeys and my Joes and my Joels mixed up here. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve R 20-009. Any other discussion? I call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Anybody opposed? Motion passed. I would like to take a 10-minute break before we move on to PUD 20-004. We will hold it to 10 minutes and we'll be back, okay? So if we can go on the record right now at 5:21.
agriculture rezoning to the east, and I guess that's also ag 2, or agriculture, I can't read it, but whatever, across the street, each street. It's on the corner of Shell Harbor Road and County Road 309. This is an aerial photograph of the property in question. It is comprised of lots 6 and 7 of Block 1 of Magnolia Bluff Estates subdivision. There's 184 feet of frontage on County Road 309, 149.9 feet of frontage on Shell Harbor Road. The rural residential future land use allows for neighborhood commercial when approved through a PUD. So all commercial in the rural residential future land use has to be by a PUD. The commercial uses are those which serve the daily needs of contiguous neighborhoods. As noted above, neighborhood commercial uses are only permitted in rural residential future land via the PUD. The permitted uses in the PUD are part of the PUD and approval, so they can be there. The current site development and parking provisions will be maintained. Outdoor storage and display of automobiles and golf carts are a change to the development agreement, and we'll go through that in a little bit. It is a fundamental change from the previous uses that didn't have that in their parking area. Staff believes that the limited outside storage of small golf carts and 1 or 2 boats or vehicles would be in keeping with the neighborhood commercial characteristic. Vehicles in for repair should be done by appointment and stored in the rear of the building while waiting to be repaired. No long-term storage of junk vehicles or inoperable vehicles. The property is accessed directly from the paved area in front of the property. There's not a curb there, so that you pretty much can get to the front of the building just by the whole parking area. County Road 309 is a major collector. Placing a commercial use on the subject property would be in compliance with the comprehensive plan. As I said, this property's been used commercially since 1973. The property is not in the 100-year flood zone. There are no jurisdictional wetlands on the property. Soil survey has the soils on the property being the land as a dominant soil type, with Candler being in the southwest corner. Both types have some slight limitations to building sites or paved roadways, and are also adequate for septic tank fields. Property receives fire service from Station 12 in Willaca and EMS from Station 83 in Satsuma. Policy B111 of the traffic circulation element and H517 of the capital improvements element contains standards for acceptable level of service for area roads. 309 has a level of service D. The proposed modification of the PUD will not add anything significant to that level of service. The development agreement, there's several changes, name changes. The only 2 significant changes is the commercial recreation and entertainment indoor amusement arcades has been removed from the permitted uses. One of the reasons why that is we are currently working on an internet cafe ordinance that deals with specifically that kind of stuff, and it would rather be under that ordinance. Outdoor storage and or display of the marine, recreational, and automotive vehicles that are in repair or for sale, as well as storage of units for sale is there. Golf carts and no more than 3 marine or and or automobile and marine boats, basically for outside storage at any given time. Repair vehicles shall be by appointment only. No long-term storage of disabled vehicles, and they are to be behind the building. Staff recommends that the approval of the request to amend the PUD plan unit development with the identified changes to the development agreement. The basis for this recommendation is that the proposed development is compatible with existing land uses in the area, consistent with the requirements for a PUD zoning, and consistent with the future land use designation, and consistent with other comprehensive plan objectives and policies. Any questions by the board?
Any questions, Joel?
Yeah, I have one. What would be the definition of long-term storage?
If it was there more than 30 days, that would be an issue.
Is that actually a definition in the?
There's no definition.
There is no definition.
But when I dealt with code enforcement, that was kind of a 30-day thing that we dealt with.
Is that something that would be appropriate to add to the development agreement?
Yes, we could put that in there.
I think it should be, because, I mean, that could be broadly termed and used
Right.
is all. It's a nice piece of property.
Okay.
Okay, we'll address that when the owner applicant comes up to speak. Any other questions to Mr. Salmon? Okay, thank you very much, John. Is the owner applicant here? And would you like to speak? Please come up and identify yourself, name and address, and make your presentation.
Got to turn it on, or?
Nope, if you get the green light on, you're fine.
All right, Benjamin Chandler,
Is
County
it
Road.
on?
Is it on?
Jacob, are you hearing the speaker? He's got you, thank you.
All right,
Nancy, you got him?
Benjamin Chandler, County Road, or 377 County Road 309. I pretty much just want to keep doing what I'm doing there. There's nothing really big changes, just making it a decent place. So,
Would you entertain the amendment to the development agreement to change the on-site storage of vehicles to limit it to 30 days for vehicles in
yes.
repair?
I mean, most of these are things that'll come in and just be repaired or waiting to get repaired, and and a lot of it, like I think a few folks have said, just keep behind the fence or,
Okay, but limit
Not a
that to
problem.
30 days. Do you have a problem with that?
not a problem at all.
Okay, we'll consider that when we get ready to vote on that. Anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, that's-
Any questions of, yes?
I hate to be the only one asking questions. Is there going to be a fence around this piece of property, to shield yourself from the adjacent owners there?
There's already a fence around two sides of this property on the rear, and the rest of it it would be under the outside display as far as carts sitting out front, boats. Mainly, it's going to be carts sitting out there all the time. The boats will be waiting to be repaired for as far as upholstery and such like that. So but as along the half of the front side of the property and along the front side of it, it's all open, as well as it looks there, as far as except for a line of carts out there, which is.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else?
That should do it for me.
Okay, thank you. We have James and Carol McDonald. Would one of you like to come up and speak? You shook your head no and you stood up. Kind of got pushed, didn't you? Yeah. That's all right.
My name is Jim McDonald. I live about 450 feet southwest of the property in question.
And your address, sir?
125 Hard Row Street, Satsuma, 32189. And frankly, I don't know that I really have a complaint about this. The property as it stands right now is in use in the way it's described in the change that he's applying for. He has probably 20, 25 golf carts in various stages of repair, disrepair, whatnot, several boats, a couple of disabled automobiles, and it's cluttered, but it's not horribly objectionable. that building was an old Jiffy Store, originally
Right.
developed as a Jiffy Store. And the property immediately to the south of it was, and to my understanding, originally a silk screening facility that was used to make T-shirts back in the day. So certainly there's what you would call a historic use there of commercial. But I would find it very discouraging if the property became more cluttered than it is at the present time. And I invite anybody on the board to take a ride by and have a look. It's more of a housekeeping issue than it is anything else that I'm afraid of. I live very close by. We have a nice little area there that's pretty well maintained. The property to the south is well kept. The residential properties to the west are very well kept. Of course, we have the log cabin winery to the east. And, you know, I just don't want it to become something of a eyesore for our community.
Thank you.
Is that enough?
Yes, sir. If there's anything else you'd like to say, we'll be glad to listen.
No, I don't know the gentleman, and I really have no animosity toward him. I mean, I just don't want
Concerned about
anything
clutter.
to go sour for us.
I think our applicant owner has heard you.
But you're happy with what's there current, you just don't want more?
I don't want it to get worse, and I would really like it to be a little neater and cleaner.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mrs. McDonald, would you like to come up and speak? I think he covered it all. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak either for or against this particular application? Okay. I will bring it back to the board and close the public comment period. Any discussion on the board, motion, second, whatever you'd like to do, folks. Do we want to put the 30-day limit on storage of vehicles?
I think
Yes,
that would be
yeah.
helpful.
Yes.
Okay, so that needs to be included in the motion with the PUD stipulating that there will be a 30-day limit on the time that a non-working vehicle can be stored on site. Does that make sense, Mr. Perry?
Would it make sense to have a fenced-in area for stored vehicles? You're not trying to display to sell?
Okay, you
He's
were
got
thinking-
that in the back.
You're going to put that in the
I
back,
went there, he
correct?
had that in the back, if I'm correct.
Mr.
That
Chandler,
is
you
in
want
the
to come
back.
back up?
You've already got that in the back?
Yep.
It's in the back, okay.
So the 30 days is just on the asphalt in the front?
I think 30 days,
Is anywhere on the property?
anywhere on the property.
Property.
Anywhere on the property.
I need to ask him a question.
Come back up. Come on back up to the microphone, please.
On some of these in the back and stuff, these are things that I've been working on for years. I've had these projects going on, and there's a lot that goes into these projects. So,
These reconstruction, rebuild projects?
right, these are golf carts that I sometimes take a year designing and building. So there's going to be a lot to them, and to do this within 30 days, this is not going to be, feasible in the business.
Are you willing to put a fence around that area?
I do have a fence all around the back area and such.
And it's kept closed at night? and-
Closed, locked, and that's
Yeah,
it's
well,
over there.
when I went there, I went to the side road. and- Yeah,
I'm sorry,
Is it a privacy fence?
privacy
Yeah.
fence, yes,
Or is
6
it
foot,
just a chain link fence?
6 foot privacy fence, board panels.
Okay, board panels?
When I was there, that's one of our sign was knocked down.
Oh, yeah, they have been because of weather.
Well, my son and I fixed it and stapled it, and this gentleman came out and identified himself as the owner.
Okay.
So I looked, I did not go behind the fence because it's all locked up.
Right.
But I did try to see down the road and across the front, and you can't see anything to the rear. I would have no problem leaving something that I can't see. I'm not going to know what's going to be there. And I don't think we're going to have code enforcement going out.
Let's just keep anything in repair back behind that fence.
Okay.
Yeah,
And if it's something you can't move while you're working on it, keep that to 30 days.
Okay.
Can we
Out-
do
out
that?
front?
So anything in the front that is under repair will have a 30-day limit on being kept in the front?
On the asphalts, that park, it's
Well,
basically, it's the parking lot for the Handyway or
The
Jiffy
front
store.
part for that particular location.
Okay,
Is that okay?
that's fine.
Okay. Because you can get those fixed in 30 days or,
Yeah, they'll constantly move around, like I said, I've got projects in there that are, I've got 2 years into them, so I mean, a year.
sure. But they can go back behind the fence?
Yes, they can constantly be moved. Everything there on this property has wheels on it, so, I mean, it's all movable.
Yep.
And
Okay. So we will put that in the PUD agreement that no vehicles under repair will remain in the front part of the property beyond 30 days. How's that sound?
that's fine.
Y'all okay with that?
Yes.
All right, I need somebody to make that motion, and I need a second so we can get this thing on the floor.
I'll make a motion that we approve PUD 20-004 with the stipulation that no vehicles will be outside of the fence for over a 30-day period.
Vehicles under repair.
Under repair, that's correct.
All right. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Froelich. At the Joey Boys again. Pardon? Joey. And at this point, I will ask if there's any further discussion. All right. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All opposed, like sign. We have passed it unanimously. This will go on to the Board of County Commissioners on January 25th. At that point, you will have a similar hearing to this, and people will have the opportunity to come and speak for or against it. You will have the opportunity to address the BOCC at that time. Okay?
Mr. Chandler, I have a note for you. I have somebody that wants to do business with you.
It's rare somebody comes to the planning commission to get
At this point, we're going to move into the comprehensive plan discussion, and thank you so much, Mr. Chandler. Mrs. Chandler, thank you. And thank you also for coming in. We appreciate you, Mr. McDaniel. And bringing your lovely wife with you. We appreciate that. We're going to go into a discussion of... ask it of Mr. Brown or Mr. Salmon. Yes, Mr. Brown, right over there is the one you need to ask it because we've already voted. It won't be on the record. I think we just did. But Mike's got to come back. We are going to discuss the comprehensive plan. We have 3 individuals who have come tonight that would like to address the board. And rather than having them sit here for another 3 hours, we will hear what they have to say and ask them questions of what they have to say and discuss this with them so that they can choose whether or not they're going to stay and enjoy the next 3 hours of this meeting. I can see the look on at least 2 faces that it's like, I'm not staying. I'm waiting on Mr. Brown to come back. So, and I see the other one just kind of looking at me like, you got to be kidding. So,
Well, one of them wants to go play trivia. That's what he wants to do.
yeah, I have a feeling that one does. Probably has a daughter with him to go play trivia too.
Yep.
So those chairs are not the most comfortable in the world, guys.
on purpose.
Quite possibly. I will tell the commission that next month, we will be working on the newly minted draft ordinance on internet cafes.
Oh, yeah.
So be here.
I've been informed about that a little bit.
writing it for the last month.
And I will also inform you that either next month or the following month, we will be entertaining a major work on the Magnolia Dunes PUD. And for those of you who don't know it by its formal name, that is better known to us as Hogwaller. So it's Mr. Alford's annual visit back to the board. So those are coming up on our calendars. And real soon, I have been told by Mr. Troiano, as soon as we get the comp plan put to bed, we will begin working on the land development code. So it's just a jolly old time around here. And we appreciate everyone and all the diligent work you've done this summer. It's been incredible. What I would like to do, Mr. Brown, you might not have heard me, we have 3 gentlemen who would like to speak to the comp plan and the language on densities. And rather than have them endure the next hours or so of this meeting, I'm going to let them go ahead and speak, and then after that, we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the comp plan. Is that okay with you gentlemen? Okay. First up is Roger Easterling. Please come forward, state your name and address, and tell us your concerns. My heart breaks for you, Roger. I understand what you're doing there. Velcro squeaks.
This thing on or?
Oh, it's on.
Okay. Good evening. My name's Roger Easterling. I live
If you could bring the mic up just a little bit so it's pointing. There you go.
281 Huntington Shortcut Road, Lake Como. And I'm here tonight because we've been informed that y'all are considering the comprehensive plan. And some of the language is saying that we're going to a 1 to 10 density on ag land, but lakefront is what we all have, part of it, and it's not being addressed. It's kind of being just grouped in, and we would like to make sure that the density on lakefront, 10 acres is just, sometimes it's out of reach for some people. This is property we've owned for, like myself, over 80 years in our family, and we've kept it to try to maximize it down the road for future generations. So we'd really like to see a 1-to-1 on waterfront as long as it meets your requirements of certain things. Hard road frontage has been brought up. But the PUD, like in my instance, it's not large enough for, say, a subdivision, but it's small enough to be cut into acre lots utilizing septic tanks, wells. It can be put in their deed restrictions that the county doesn't have to come down to service the houses, garbage. It can be brought out to the hard road. So I'd like to see this all taken into consideration in maybe not grouping all property under one lump thing and looking at each individuals differently and in a different case. I'm not in a position to sell this property right now, but it is getting, as I get older, probably in the long-term plans to do. And I may like to do it at a little increment at the time instead of try to sell it all at once. So I guess I'm just here to ask, would you take that in consideration when y'all are doing your talks about the densities and figure out a way to maybe it fits everybody and utilize this waterfront for the value it has.
And you're thinking that would stay in the agricultural zoning and agricultural land use category?
Till that time that it's like, I'd like to see it where if somebody come by and said, I'd like to buy an acre of land on this water, it can be cut out. As long as there's guidelines that it falls under this, it can be cut out. That way we can keep farming the rest of it till another day when someone else might come along. Really don't have any future plans to stop using it as ag.
How much lake frontage do you have?
About a half a mile.
So that's roughly 2,500 or thereabouts.
Yes.
And how, I guess it's fairly deep because you're farming what's behind it?
There's about 80 acres on paper. So a lot of it's out under the water, so there's about 50 acres up on what we call the hill. And
do we have a map or anything that we can look at?
I brought it with me. if y'all would like to,
I'd like to look at it anyway.
okay,
This is where your dad had his shop, right?
yes,
Okay.
okay.
It's on Huntington Shortcut Road, two-thirds of the way from Lake Como to State Road 207. No, 307, 308, whatever it is. 308. Yes, we'll need a copy for the record, Roger. I know where it is, so I don't need one.
All right.
So the future land use is currently.
Future land use right now is currently ag. And from what I'm hearing, you want the ability to have a one-to-one, one residence per acre in the ag category along waterfront.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, I've got two pair of glasses and I still can't read this stuff.
Well, it is.
I see it says pond to the north. Is that the waterfront we're talking about?
It's got it on, it's like an island. It's got it on the south side and the north side.
Okay. On the south side where it says parcel of so-and-so, that's water also?
Yes.
All right.
Right now. Right now.
Well, I'm going to get to that in a second.
Okay, it's like this. This is Huntington Shortcut Road.
Yes, the east boundary line is Huntington
Huntington
Shortcut
Shortcut
Road.
This is a pond, that's a pond, and this is higher land in there.
What's to the west?
Woods.
Your property, though.
What's to the west of our?
It's your property?
I'm sorry.
The
what was-
woods is your property also?
Well, the boundary is the square, okay?
Property is the two rectangles there.
Here and here.
Yes, but turn your map the other way, Ken. Rotate it 90 degrees to your left. And you'll have Huntington Shortcut Road on your north, and then
Well,
north is on.
but that's still the east. It's not.
That's the east.
The
Right.
west, the west side is woods.
Behind it is woods, there's not a road behind it.
All right, and it looks like there's a house.
No, it's a fernery packing shed.
Okay. So currently, all this property is being used for fern.
No, currently, it's just, I don't know what y'all tell me, ag. It's not green belt, but it's ag.
It's silviculture, woods and
Yes.
trees, yeah.
So in essence, on the north side, which is, well, north and the south side, you say both of them, you want,
What he's asking for, Ken, is the ability within the ag zoning to add some language that would say along waterfront property, the density can be one dwelling per acre, meeting certain circumstances like potable water, sewer on site, septic on site.
all right. Mike, a question to you. If he was to come in for a PUD and divide what do we got, 40 acres? 25 and 15?
Yeah, there's 40 on the
In those,
piece, and then
in
there's
those two
another-
pieces?
There's another 40 to the south, which is not reflected on this. This is just the north 40.
Is there any more waterfront that you're in contention with?
No, you can actually see the waterfront on the south side of this. It's just a long line. It's just not a picture of it. But there's a lake on the north side and the south side.
These are little lakes out around the Lake Como area. There are
Okay.
dozens of them.
Could he come in with a PUD or some sort to keep it in fernery, but also subdivide it at the same time into acre lots?
Well,
No?
yeah, I mean, we would do the PUD allowing those uses. However, when he wanted to do the subdivision, he'd have to go through a subdivision process where we would plat.
Right,
Everything.
he'd have to meet all the subdivision requirements, but we
Yeah,
could
and
take
plat it,
care of
but you could
dividing
do-
the land up
Yeah, you
for
could
him
do
now.
But if
do
he
a
doesn't
PUD.
want to
We
do
would
an
need to
actual
make sure.
subdivision.
Yes,
Right,
I
they
mean,
don't
we
want
could
an actual
do a
subdivision.
PUD.
Well, we're not going to do it, we're just going to do it on paper. It's going to be a paper subdivision.
Well, that still has to go through a process, Ken.
Correct?
would it be possible to have him on lakefront area, could we make a designation in the ag designator? And I'm asking this too of you, Brian. Would it be, and also Mike, I guess, would it be allowable with the state if we designated in the ag zoning, or the ag future land use element, that property, ag property abutting a waterfront area with X number of feet of waterfront, minimum of X number of feet of waterfront frontage and depth of property could be subdivided to a 1-to-1 ratio?
Well, I can't answer that if it would pass the state.
Right.
I mean, if it's the desire ultimately of the board, we could craft something like that.
Try it. The other option, of course, would be for the landowner, when he wants to do this, to come in and do rural residential and divide the property at that time, right?
I know up in the northwest portion of the county, around a lot of those lakes in the past, the county has identified those rather than agriculture to rural residential because it was being
used
cut
that
up
way.
and subdivided.
Right, right.
I think what we were trying to get away from in this whole thing is we were trying to get away from people coming in and putting private roads in and all that type thing, which has created chaos in our whole county. And what it sounds like to me, and it's no offense, I'm just telling you, it seems like to me we're kind of going down that same path
Possible.
with what he's requesting.
And the homeowner would have to take responsibility for maintenance of road.
And that's been a problem,
And that's a problem because we sometimes have to take county vehicles down
That's a
those
real
roads in
problem.
emergency situations.
I think Joel's hit it on the head, though. That's where it sounds like we're heading to me, too. That's why I keep asking myself, how is that even possible?
I don't see how it's be possible.
But it's something we will certainly discuss.
If we go under the subdivision ordinance, though, he's going to have paved road go in there.
But he's going to have to change his
He would change it from a ag to
rural
subdivision.
residential.
You could do it as a PUD, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, we could do it under a PUD also.
I
We
mean,
still
that
have to make sure the future land use is correct.
Right, and
Match
allows for that to
but
be done.
if you're doing a PUD, I think that's going to be, maybe I shouldn't say this, but that'd be a little easier because we can condition the PUD
right.
to match whatever future land use would be appropriate.
And that
So-
way you get what you want or what you need in the
Right.
future, but we
You do
take
that
care
when
of
you're
it
ready.
now.
Okay, can you tell me what the definition of the PUD as
PUD
far
is
as
a
the
planned unit.
landowner?
It's a planned unit development. And it's an area of land that we designate for certain uses. And you can designate that no more than 50% of this tract of land will be used for residential property, or no more than 10%, or the only residential dwellings will be along the waterfront. And you can put certain restrictions in there that the landowner will maintain the roads so they are passable by county emergency vehicles. Work with Public Works on that, that you can still continue to use the remainder of the land as agriculture without having to actually subdivide it and go into a subdivision with all the requirements of a subdivision. It's just like what we just did with multiple pieces of property out in Willaca. That's a planned unit development. It's multiple pieces of property grouped under one zoning category of the planned unit development. And it allowed for certain things to go on there, like we just limited, storage of vehicles in the front part of the property to 30 days. So there are things you can build into a PUD to make it what you want. You may have 2 or 4 houses you want to build down there. Do you want to use a packet sewer system so that it's a common sewage system? Do you want to use a single well for distribution? How do you want to do that? Those things can be written into a PUD. And anything can be written into a PUD concerning your property, as long as it fits.
So to get where you don't have to have a central water system or sewer system, will it allow homes to have their own wells and septic, the traditional, as long as...
There would probably be acreage requirements with that, and that would have to pass through the health department.
Okay.
Because the Department of Health regulates sanitary sewer systems, and it also regulates water systems. So those, am I on track there, Mike?
Yeah, I want to make sure we don't get too confused between the PUD as a zoning district,
Right.
and we're focused on future land use. Now, we can make those two match up, but I just want to make sure.
Right. It would be up to us to try to massage the language in the
Now,
text.
we're talking this PUD, I don't know that his issue was strictly from a land use standpoint, being able to do it. The PUD would be a mechanism, but
Right.
we still have to make sure that the land use matches up with what he wants to do.
But the PUD would be done, we're talking land use now, the PUD would be done
As a
later.
zoning. That would
Yeah,
be a
after
zoning.
the land
That's-
use,
that's a
yeah.
later
Yeah, it has
thing.
to be yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think what he's asking, though, is, if I understand it correctly, he's saying that he'd like to keep it ag, but if he wants to sell a lot on that lake every now and then between now and, he doesn't want to go in there and develop it as a development. And I don't see how that's going to be
It's-
possible with
He's
what
gonna-
we're trying to stop from.
And without a,
Yeah.
He's going to have to develop it. But this piece lays out perfect for development. You just need
Does, I mean, the whole
You only
thing
need one
does.
road going right down the middle of it from east to west, and split it at 150 feet or thereabouts, at least 150 feet going north and south.
You could put
there are
more
ways to
than-
do it, and,
put
and,
more than one
and I
road.
think, Mr. Easterling, the thing we're trying to say is, the ideal may not be the ideal, because if we lock into something like that, chances are the state's gonna come back and say, you can't have 1-acre homestead lots all over in agriculture zoning, or agricultural land. They're going to kick that back and say, we're already testing the waters by saying we wanna go down to 1 and 5. And we're not sure that's gonna fly with the state, but we're gonna send it forth because we're committed to that. So, it's one of those catch-22s. We hear you.
And am I mistaken, don't we still have the requirement that you can't split a property more than twice?
You can do a lot split into two parcels, a parcel into two.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Third one, you trigger the subdivision.
There you go.
requirement.
Right.
Okay, and that's the problem I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, other than the end result going to a planned unit development, I don't know how you could do it.
Right.
What he's asking.
have to limit
You
it
even with
to
the
2 on
PUD,
each.
you don't get out of that.
I believe we did put in
What-
that
what-
if it's
I
on a
mean-
paved road, you can go to 5-acre lots,
Right.
right?
Right, on a paved road, you can go to 5-acre lots.
Okay,
An-
is that?
An example of what we,
As long as the property,
Abuts.
Abuts the
or is
paved road,
adjacent?
that's correct.
The paved road,
the 5-acre lots, like some of them would be behind the front 5 acres, that still qualifies? Or does
Well-
all of them
Have
have
to
to be on
front.
a
I think
hard road?
what I heard you say is that some of this land goes out, some of your land goes out into the lake. So you could, I would think, and this is just me thinking out loud, you could use that land that goes out as part of the 5 acres if you're trying to limit your uplands on that. But the way that we've got it now, it's, and the way we've discussed it, it's, if you're on a paved road, you can go to 1 and 5.
right.
You can have 8 on here, on your 40 acres.
Okay.
Right.
And
But if you subdivide more than twice, you trigger a subdivision.
That's correct.
you're going to have to do that. I mean,
No,
there's
You're
no
gonna have
ifs,
to do
ands,
that
or buts
anyway.
about that
If you
part.
took one of those rectangles, Roger, and you cut it in half, and you put a house on each half, that's okay, because that rectangle's a parcel, it looks like. And the other rectangle next to it, or north of it, would do the same thing. That if you want to put a third house on one of those rectangles, it's going to become a subdivision.
Okay, it is that, we already have a letter from the county that we retained years ago that it could be cut 4 ways, 4 times. We have that in writing from the county already approved. So,
When was that letter written, do you know?
Ken has it, it was probably after my father passed away, so since 2005.
Right.
And then I was also
It's-
told
you
as
know,
long
this
as we
is something
split it.
No, I can't respond to that because I don't
Yeah,
know
we'd have to
what
look at that, or
the
Mr. Brown would have to
circumstances
look
were.
at that, and Mr. Perry would have to look at that.
And isn't there if you cut it between family members, you
There
can.
is some.
Oh, well, that's-
Yes, there
yeah.
is. Family members can cut it, and I think that's what you're referring to.
Right.
To maximize it out.
So when you make that cut between family members, does that still count as your split, that you're locked? Like if I split this with another family member now,
Yes.
does that mean?
Yeah,
that-
what the family, we have a family member density exception, so that you don't have to worry about density if you're passing it on cutting it out to a family member. Whereas, let's say it's an ag, and it's 1 to 10. If you want to cut out 1 acre to a family member, you could do that. However, that cut is a lot split, and the next one would trigger the 3 splits or 3 cuts for a subdivision.
Right. So you'd have
I mean,
19 acres and 1 acre.
one thing that we could, and we see this in the county, it's common, you could be designated for the future, on the future land use as rural residential, but the zoning remains agriculture, and it allows you to continue agriculture. You have,
Yep. Right.
so
Roger, I think the thing for you,
we have that a lot right now.
I think the thing for you to do is get a copy of that letter, not the original, get a copy of that letter, make an appointment to come sit down with Mr. Brown, look at the map, and talk it over when you are focused on the map, and get him to give you advice on what's the best way to handle it.
Okay.
But in the meantime, we do appreciate your coming forward and talking to us about the lakefront property. We're glad to listen to anyone, even you.
Would you like your survey back?
I don't need it, but if you,
We have to have a copy.
If you
for the
come
case.
back to us, bring them.
Okay. Let's hear from Mr. Stephen Malphurs.
I'll keep mine, I'll see you.
Please give us your name and your address and tell us what you want to tell us.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Stephen Malphurs. I live at 272 Pomona Landing Road in Crescent City. My concerns are very similar to what Mr. Eastland's were. As far as have a piece of land that has a hard road on to the south of it, and have a piece of land on Lake Crescent. And, not knowing what the future's going to hold, you want to have as many options as possible. To be able to, if you wanted to sell a piece of land to someone, or just even for loan value for like farm credit, they look at it, if it's 1 to 10 or 1 to 20, your loan value on your piece of property will not be the same as it would be if you had the potential to cut it up. And another thing, the lot splits. Not trying to go off track here, but everybody went a different direction, and it was kind of hard to hear back there, but
Sure.
Y'all have had a very, very good meeting so far. I just want to say I've never been to one of these before, and y'all do a very good job, and I know y'all have it's a sticky wicket up here. Everybody comes and wants their own personal thing, but you have to do it for the whole county together. So, I appreciate what y'all do up here, and
Next time we have a vacancy, Stephen,
I'll bring y'all donuts.
be back about 6:30.
No, because it's even just like doing the solar panels, the people around had concerns about that. The solar
We
thing is
listen to
good for the
everyone.
county, but when it's right next to you, that changes the whole equation of
Absolutely.
things.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Hey, not in my
sitting back there
backyard
thinking,
really-
if I was in their shoes, I may have had some of the same concerns, especially the mother that's got the new child, but that's kind of getting off track there.
Certainly.
But
But
the lot splits, like if, we don't have big parcels of land anymore, but my dad's got one section at the house, or one parcel, still it's like 263 acres, and that can't be cut but twice before you go into the subdivision rule? Why are, if you're 1 to 10 on ag, and you say, all right, well then, that's basically saying, you're 1 to 130 on a piece of land like that. And I don't know if there's an easy fix for that, but I'm just saying, that's, bring that into the discussion. Not every piece of land is a small piece.
Right.
And I know y'all have to work within the parameters of the county and get stuff through the state.
Well, we also get to the point where land that's going to be considered for parcels for dwellings along a lakefront, that can that comes a subdivision, it becomes rural residential, it can become a PUD. There are many ways to approach it.
Now, you're talking about the ag residential. What exactly does that entail? Does it change your tax base on the land? Like if say you're paying $30 an acre property taxes, will it change your taxing
If you
rate?
go to rural residential,
Yes, ma'am.
Mike, you want to give him the
Yeah,
answer?
I spoke to the property appraiser today on that issue specifically. And his response was Initially, really not, especially from an ag to the rural residential, because the density isn't,
Or it'd be a
it seems
nominal
big,
change,
but it's
2,
not
3,
that
4%.
different. If you're going from ag to industrial or ag to commercial land use, then you would probably see a difference in your taxes at that point.
We have cattle and timber down there. We're actually the last piece of high ground on Lake Crescent on the western shore. But, you never know what kind of government regulations is going to come in. A couple of years ago, something called the Waters of America Act that they were trying to get through. And if that had gotten all the way through, we would have had to fence our cattle away from the lake so many feet up. Then we have a piece of land that, you might say, well, we're still growing timber, but, we'd have had limited access to it at a point, for your future of your children. I'd much rather be able to sell that land on the lake for whatever the full value would be and then back up from it. That way I'm not in you never want to fight the government because, they always have more money and lawyers than you do. Back up and have enough funds to say, we can treat the rest of our place good, make sure your kids are fine, take care of your parents, and then, we're still legal, but we haven't changed the world by, we don't want to, we live across from a subdivision. Where we used to live was a dead-end dirt road, and people put in some land across from us years ago, and we don't like a lot of people. And we like people, but we don't, wave at them at a distance. But, we just want to be able to have the option one day of if the need arose or if we were forced to. Because like I say, you never know what the economic certainties and stuff is going to go through. I've been through 2 hurricanes. The biggest guy sold fern and stuff too went bankrupt and a divorce. So, you never know what. A couple of years ago, I was like, I'd never do anything. Now you're looking at it from the standpoint of like, man, I was real close to having to do something.
Hey, it's 2020. We all know what can happen. So what I would suggest to you, Stephen, is the same thing I suggested to Roger, is at the point when you are really curious and want to explore this, it may be tomorrow. It may be 10 years from now. You need to address the planning director of the county because they're the ones who will lead the process through to make the changes you need. You need to come in, lay it on the table, and say, help me.
Now, is there a designation like for the ag residential versus just a straight ag? Is that a separate zoning for a piece of property?
No, it's not a separate zoning, but it's language in the agricultural element that allows for certain residential.
Or future use,
Right.
so that way it's got you where you would run into less trouble because the land's already kind of going down that funnel per se.
And the other piece is you've got the option, if you have paved road access, to have 1 in 5. And from what I understood when we had the Zoom meeting, that gives you greater access to loan money.
Yes, ma'am.
With Farm Credit Bureau. So that's one of the reasons we're making that change, to give you that extra boost.
Okay.
And also the possibility that between now and 2035, a lot of things can change.
Well, just look at the pressures coming at you this way. You drive through Palatka. It used to be just lickety-split. Now I went 3 light changes the other day just getting through 207 there. It was shocking and no wreck.
It goes 37 miles an hour. I've done it many a time.
Yeah, it's coming this way rapidly.
We are.
From all directions.
We are. We're crossing our fingers that we will have significant growth in the next 15 years in Putnam County.
As long as it's managed to a point. We need to increase our tax base, but at the point without spending more services than what the money's bringing in.
We do not want to change the rural and agrarian nature of this community. We want that to be honored, and we want to honor our natural resources.
Yes, ma'am.
So those are the things we're looking at with this comp plan change.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Good luck at trivia tonight. Mr. Newbold.
My name's J.R. Newbold, 610 Old Highway 17, Crescent City, Florida. I think my compatriots have covered most of my issues as well. But there is that, I guess maybe we need some clarification as to that rural residential designation. I see that there are some designations out there now, and this is more than just our little parcels. I think, folks who currently have ag in all over the county would benefit from the ability to have higher loan values, have the flexibility to develop that in the future in some minor way. How possible is it to get rural residential in the future land use designation for some of these ag areas that surround water now?
I mean, if you're asking today, somebody walked in wanted to change their ag land to a rural residential. I wish I can give you an easy answer, but it oftentimes depends what's surrounding it.
Surely.
If it's an area that we've seen some movement, maybe not right adjacent to it, but some movement toward more dense development or intense development, then it's going to be a lot easier. If you wanted to do 10 acres of rural residential out in the middle of
Surely.
Of nowhere with no decent roads,
Certainly.
it's going to be a lot more difficult. I mean, that's just the reality of things, but it's not impossible. It's up to the Board of County Commissioners ultimately.
Okay, and we understand that in
Yeah.
general. That sprawl that you mentioned, we certainly don't want to see that either. But if
Combination, JR, of sprawl and spot zoning.
yeah, right, yes, maybe my terminology is confusing.
We don't want to plop something down that's incompatible with what's surrounding it.
Surely.
Let's just say all of a sudden you come back and you want to put 4 houses up in the middle of Plum Hill. What's around that? You're far enough away from the campground, you're stuck in the middle of ag land. That's going to be hard to get through. But if you come in and say you've got residential properties surrounding this area, it's still going to be a process. The process is going to be the same regardless. You might not get the same answer.
And I imagine all these things have to do with how close are you to, developed road and things of that nature. Okay.
Oh,
yeah, it's a sticky wicket, and
I mean, and one thing, and again, I don't know whether it would impact the group that's here, the individuals here today. Remember, we have at least proposed in the comp plan to look at the southern 17 corridor where they're going to do the widening, and look at in the future, not next 10, 15 years before that, of what we relook at it. Basically, it allows the county to come back and look at the land uses, and if we're seeing some trends towards more development, then we're going to probably be proposing some changes to the future land use in
The
that
urban
area.
reserve. And I think you've got some property that's already classified.
we have
as
some urban reserve, we have some rural residential, and I'm thinking about, quite frankly, I think I'm zoned pretty well, and my future land use is advantageous as compared to others. But I know there are others that could benefit from this. And anyway, I'm here speaking on
the ag interest.
Ag interest in general. And we as ag get that idea. We don't, we see the logic that goes into that planning, and don't want to promote, hey, I've got a pond out in the middle of nowhere, I want to put 40 houses around it. That's not what we're getting at here.
They can move to Interlochen.
I had a point in my mind, and you pulled it to the surface. Ag is different in all parts of the county. The Crescent City area is changing. It was highly intensive in ag and fern and citrus, and that is slowly going away, and it's not going to change. There will be less and less of it in the next 20 years. There are other areas in the county that ag is going to expand. Crescent City just happens not to be one, but we do have advantages down there. There's 4-lane coming. There are lots of little lakes. It's a great place for people to come and to retire to. And so I hope that, just fortunately we're down there, that will we'll be able to use that logic in the future to say, hey, there will be less ag here. There will be more home sites down there, and I think building those is making that possible is good for both the landowner, for the current value, loan value, the current value for our future generations, but also the county.
Right.
If they're able to create a greater tax base by more
Right.
nice homes
And
along
one
those
thing I
areas.
want you to remember, all three of you, this document that we're looking at to send to the county commission and get their recommendations so it can go on to the state is not a document that's chiseled in stone. This is a document that can be amended at any time. It can be amended by the request of a citizen. It can be amended by the recommendation of staff or a member of the county commission. It's not something that is definitely going to be the only way forward for 15 years.
Yeah, I guess you guys have a much better understanding of that. From where we sit, it feels pretty daunting. But, you guys understand it much better than we do and realize what is possible.
Again, we may have a vacancy coming up.
Oh.
There's always a way to learn.
Anyway, thank you for what you guys do. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jay.
Madam Chair, can I make a comment?
Yes, sir, you may.
We were talking at the Farm Bureau meeting last week, and there seems to be a lot of interest in the area for ag land from South Florida because they're just getting overwhelmed with houses and stuff, and the value of the land for houses is worth more than ag land. And these guys, these big guys that have the big contracts with the Walmarts and the big restaurants, they're looking for land up here, and they're looking right now in Hastings. There seems to be one guy that's ready to move from West Palm Beach up here, so you might have a chance to keep your land ag, own it, and just rent it. There seems to be some possibilities with that. It seems like the way they talked the other night, they were talking to a guy. So it's a game changer in this area. It's just when and what you want to do.
We'll certainly see a lot of changes in the next 10, 15 years.
Oh, yeah, you're going to see a
Oh, yeah.
difference. The solar farm, I checked into solar farm 6 years ago. And it just, the guy didn't represent FPL. I don't know what his deal was, but they said, well, you're in the 100-year floodplain. Well, not where I'm at. I mean, it's going to flood maybe. Not where we're at on the highlands. The power line is in the floodplain. Yeah, your power line is, but we checked into that years ago, and that was interesting. And that's how I learned a lot about the solar was back then. And now it's already changed. I mean, it's totally different than when I checked into it. So there might be plans for that. You keep your land, and they lease it for 20, 30 years, and that's up to you what you want to do.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much, gentlemen. You're welcome to stay. Just warn you, it might be long.
Right.
If you really want to stay, that's fine. It's going to be quite a while before we get to the ag element tonight, so you can go home and watch this on YouTube. We are being streamed live on YouTube, and it will be available for replay on YouTube shortly after the meeting, correct, Jacob? Immediately after the meeting, the entire meeting will be up on YouTube so you can watch it at home. So if you don't want to stay, we don't hold it against you. All righty. We are at the point of the meeting to talk about the comprehensive plan. I want to refer everybody back to the minutes of the last board meeting in the very end, but I guess I'm going to wait on 2 of our 4 members to come back. I'm taking a break. Yeah, let's take We have before us a continued draft of the comp plan that we have reviewed multiple times. We have given direction to the consultant and to staff, and we have not received the product that we have been promised. At the October meeting of October 14th, we were told that a strike-through copy and a clean copy would be ready in 5 days, or 7 days. 14 days later, we got what we have right now, along with an alleged clean copy that had not been proofread, that had many errors in it, that had strike-through areas still in it, had multiple fonts, multiple formatting issues. And I sent it back after 5 minutes of reading to Mr. Brown and said, this has got to be proofread. What I would like to propose to you all is that we direct Mr. Teeple to go back and to take a clean copy of the existing comp plan, the version we have been working off of, and then go through the minutes and the tape recordings of the meetings and the Zoom meetings, and capture the board's intention correctly on that clean copy with only one strike-through per item rather than multiple, and have that with clean formatting, with common fonts, and have it correct, along with the data and analysis that we have been asking for months. We were supposed to get data and analysis each time we discussed an element. The only data and analysis for the elements that we got are the ones that I sat down and prepared for you. And I've asked Mr. Teeple to make sure that the data and analysis that they do is of a similar format, so everything has commonality. We've yet to see the data and analysis. He has told me tonight that he will have that by December 31st. I would like to propose to the board that we instruct Mr. Teeple as consultant on this project that he needs to complete a clean review and analysis and create a new strike-through version that is correct, that has commonality throughout. Part of the problem is each element was done separately in the past, and we didn't have a cohesive, uniform document. This time, we want and need a cohesive, uniform document. Same formatting, same font, same everything. What I propose is that we push this back 1 more month with a firm deadline that if it's not met, Mr. Troiano will be talking with the management of Kimley Horn and making our displeasure known. Now, what I would suggest is that we go ahead and look at the few map amendments that we had not, that were given back to us on the map, so we can look at those and a few questions to be answered, but not dig into this comp plan again. That's something we've already done multiple times. What is the board's pleasure?
You were mentioning earlier.
Microphone.
You gotta turn it on too. You were mentioning earlier about the future stuff that was coming before us.
We've got a lot.
What do we have at this meeting that you want to push this one to?
This is more important than anything.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, what else is, what are we
Jim,
trying to do in one night?
The only thing that will be coming to the January meeting is the proposed land development code amendment to address internet cafes.
And that may well be a product or a case that will need to be continued to get it completely done and get all of the i's dotted and the t's crossed.
That'll be up to you. We will have a draft. We have it.
Yeah.
We've already worked on it from the staff, but we have some massaging to do. We will present that as proposed amendment to the Land Development Code. That's the only thing that's on the agenda for January.
And I think it would be important for us to get that as early in January or late in December as possible. But I think we need to get this clean comp plan back by the 31st of December so that we can address it with very little time spent in meeting, but all the time spent with individual members working through it at home.
Madam Chair, if I may, Jim Triano from Planning and Development Services. Concerning the Internet Cafe ordinance, as Mr. Brown said, it's basically done. We're going to now be working with a group of attorneys. So the product that you all receive, and as soon as we can finish it, will be the best product that we have. It's one that's been, or will again be reviewed by the Sheriff's Office. It will have their input in it, as well as an attorney from the Internet Cafe Association, or representing Internet Cafe, should I say. So the product that you have will be the best product that we have to present to you.
Okay.
So
you think it will be fairly comprehensive, what you present us, that we will hear comments and concerns from owners and the public, but it's very possible that we could make a decision by the end of that meeting?
I would think that you should be able to. Again, I don't know what type of citizen comment that you may encounter, but I do know that the document that you'll receive really doesn't need much more massaging now.
Okay.
It will just need a little bit. That's really what will happen.
All right, what I would propose then is that we take this up first. No, take that up first at the next meeting. And if it runs too late, because I know yesterday's county commission meeting ran very late, we would have a meeting as soon as this chamber would be available the next week to do the comp plan.
In other words, two meetings to do the one.
If we have to do it.
Well, our meeting starts at 4, Madam Chair, and so I don't know how long you would want to stay in session for.
I think 8 o'clock is pretty much our limit. We've done 6 and 7 hour meetings in the past. They get old.
Need to plan them ahead, though.
Well, hopefully we can be in and out. Do you concur as the Executive Director of Planning and Development with what I have presented?
Yes, ma'am, and I've talked to staff. We just want to make sure that we are getting what we are required to receive and in a timely fashion, so this commission with staff assistance can do the job that it has to and still meet the requirements that the board has established to get this back to where it can get processed and get completed as soon as possible.
Okay. You comfortable with a December 31st deadline?
As long as Mr. Teeple can make that deadline, and that will, if it's the will of the commission for the direction that you take, certainly. You know, I just have to defer to Mr. Brown to make sure that he's comfortable with that. A lot of this the lion's share falls back onto Mr. Brown from a staff perspective, so as long as he's comfortable with that, I am.
We can get it done. Well, I mean,
Okay. You know I'm here to help you, and we all are. Mr. Teeple, can you do that product and have it to us by December 31st? Okay. This is the last time I'm going to ask you that question. There won't be another chance.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you all comfortable with this, board?
Yes.
Okay.
Is Nancy gonna print us hard copies so we can pick up? Because I got so many copies, I don't know what is what anymore.
When it comes to time, Nancy will be printing us hard copies. And Nancy, I know it's going to kill a lot of trees, but it would be really good if we have both the strike-through and the corrected version, the clean copy. So Mr. Teeple's going to provide both of those to us. Do we have enough paper to do that, or do I need to go buy a case of paper?
let me ask just a few things. One is, do you still want the double-spaced, single-sided?
No. Single-sided, single-spaced for the clean copy.
Okay.
I think we can go back to double-sided, single-spaced for the strike-through copy. So that takes half of the paper away.
Madam Chair, if I may, when we refer to the clean copy, is there a preference potentially that we could avoid the clean copy at this time and just stay with the strike-through underlined version?
For the paper version, yes, and you could send us electronically the clean copy. That would be fine.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
And the strike-through copy can go down to single-spaced, double-sided, if that would work, and that will save a lot of paper. And staff time. And if you need me to come up and push the button, I can push the button. I stand ready to do whatever you need to have done. Mr. Troiano and I have had that conversation. Jacob turned us off. All these J people, I tell you, we need to get one more J person up here. Can we then look at the map that, before we go to the minutes, can we look at the map amendment that we have in our document? You want to put that up on the screen?
I don't have, I can't.
Oh, he's taking your
Access to it?
capability away? All right, folks, let's look at the map, which is toward the very end of your document.
I need to look at your document. I don't have any
No, I got it.
documents.
I got a big map.
No,
Just change this?
yeah, it's changed.
It was, yeah, came with the email Nancy sent.
Yeah, is mine, do I have one in here, Nancy? Yes, I do.
Where we added that.
I've got it right here.
Swamp Road.
Can you put it on our little screen in front of us?
Nope, they can't do that right now.
Okay.
I've got it right here.
I got, like I said, I got some papers on which is which.
It's a little bit different.
Ain't pretty either.
Okay, I've got it.
So I got
Y'all can look at it on the screen. I can share it with these gentlemen. What we have done is, remember at the last meeting,
We got
we
it on.
changed the
We're good.
State Road 207 corridor.
I don't think anybody's got this stuff.
I've got it right here, and we'll share it with you in just a moment.
Oh, I saw that, okay, that was on the, yeah, I saw that.
This
on
was
the,
electronically.
Yeah, the electronic.
Okay. You're gonna fix this machine? Basically, what this is on the 207 corridor, we extended the urban service out or down as far as, I have to look at the minutes.
To Walton Road
Right,
and back down to Cracker Swamp Road.
right. Instead of, and going all the way out 207 to where 207A or whatever that road joins in out there. We decided to do that. It actually expands that area a good bit and makes it larger. It also makes it consistent on both sides of 207.
That's perfect, yeah.
So that's what we did. Now you have the graphical representation in front of you. Did I describe that good?
Yeah, we extended it out to Walden, I believe Walden Road.
The names aren't on here, and I didn't have the minutes in front of me.
Walden's the east road.
Right, now, the other thing we did was we were talking about out in the Putnam Hall area. We had originally seen a map that proposed a lot of the ag land going to rural residential. And we decided to limit that to just the areas that were already platted as subdivisions. And there are 3 separate areas. One is on State Road 206, going down to Lake Swan, or Swan Lake Road. The other is at the apex of State Road 100 and State Road 26 on the north side of State Road 100. And the other is back in Flora Home. It's just a small area that was already platted in a small subdivision. So I'll pass that down to those guys so they can look at that.
We're talking this area, and this.
Yep, the 3 areas.
And that little bit. All the little squiggly lines.
Now, Mr. Brown, question.
Yes.
We asked you to get 2 questions answered, and you've already given us the answer about the one going from ag to rural residential, what Mr. Parker has said. It's not as extreme of a change as going to industrial or commercial 4 or whatever. The second question that I had asked you to check into was, does that have an effect upon a property owner's eligibility for greenbelt?
If they have an existing greenbelt and they continue to use it, no. it
But if
will
they
not.
stop having the greenbelt or somebody buys the property, they
Yeah,
would
I
not be
mean,
eligible to
they
get
would
it?
have, yeah, they would have to make their case. I mean, Tim said, Mr. Parker didn't indicate it was a definite no, but they'd have to make their case, and there's going to be more heavy lifting to do if that's the case,
Okay?
but it's
So
not.
does that answer our questions we had about taxation going from agricultural to rural residential? Okay. Are you all prepared and ready to approve the future land use map changes as amended that staff presented to us in October? Yes,
I
sir.
don't know, did you talk about the
I didn't talk about
south
Crescent,
end of the county?
and I don't have a map for that.
Okay, we did extend the, I apologize, because I put that together and I may have missed that.
It was the rural center.
But we did expand, based on the discussions at the last meeting, the rural center down at Clifton and 17.
By the dollar store there and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
we
extended it.
expanded that to the north and to the south.
And we extended it to the west, didn't we, over to Old 17?
A little bit, not much to the west. We did
Right.
change the industrial. That was the
Yeah, we didn't wanna
former
go-
site of where Walmart was going to do their distribution center back to ag.
Right.
We did actually had a discussion with a representative of the Revel family on
Right.
that, and they were comfortable with that,
Okay.
that specific change.
Are you, and yeah, the PUD was, the Walmart PUD was abandoned.
Right.
We can put that to rest forever, can't we, Joey?
Yes.
Please.
I still get questions about it, but.
Still have nightmares about it, probably. Are you ready to, you want to vote on the changes to the future land use map? Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we change to these two, but I think we need to see another map before we can approve it.
Okay. Do you want to hold off on all of the map changes then until the next meeting?
If that's what
Yeah.
needs to happen.
That would probably be the easiest thing, do them all at one time.
Yeah.
All right. That brings us to, I have an agenda here somewhere. Minutes. I have gone through and made some corrections to the minutes that are grammatical and just changing words that weren't right and taking a few words out. We can go through those one by one, or I can give them to Nancy, or do you have any changes you all like to see made? I'll pass these around, you're welcome to look at them. But I've got, basically it's pretty clean stuff. What do you want to do? Do you want to, let me give her the changes and she bring them back to us in January, or do you want to go through them one by one?
How many you got?
I don't know, it's 14 pages.
You could provide, I'll just provide me the changes and don't, make a motion to do anything until.
That makes sense.
See them next time?
That makes sense. There's no use, yeah.
Yes, I think that's a good idea. Folks, it's been a long haul. We've got a short ways to go, but it's probably the steepest climb we've got to deal with yet. But we will get there. I am so happy to know that we've got Mike Brown, who is leading staff on this, the lead staff person on this. I also know that Mike Brown is overwhelmed beyond overwhelm. He's been, go ahead,
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, please do.
I didn't have an opportunity to tell you this in the commission. We've hired a senior planner. He will start January the 11th, Mike, I think it is.
Yes.
He's a gentleman from Louisiana. So we'll have Mr. Salmons and our new senior planner on board to help Mike for till the end of the month, until the end of January. So yes,
And
Mr.
Mr.
Brown
Salmons will be-
has been overwhelmed with a lot. He has, and we've got a great staff. I mean, Nancy
Yes, and
Brown
we're
is
so
doing a
glad to
great
have
job.
Jenny on board.
And Jenny here, so there's a lot that they're doing. I'm very proud of them. We're prioritizing our efforts, but there's a lot that's going on. So with the comp plan and everything else, Mr. Brown has had a lot on his plate, but he's pushing forward and making things happen.
Yes, and I agree with that, and I appreciate all that you've done, Mike, and I know that you've got some interesting things coming up with the ordinance, with Magnolia Dunes, and then we get to look forward to the Land Development Code, which will be coming right on the heels of that. So, thank you. Do I hear any other business that we need for the good of the order?
there a reason why we gotta readdress Magnolia Dunes?
We always readdress them at least
I-
every 15 months.
Yeah, I know. We keep
It's a
saying that we're not gonna
tradition.
do that again.
It's a tradition.
See what their application is.
Yep, we have to look at it again this time, so we will. And that's,
Comment about that.
yes, sir.
How can, I'm just curious how it happened in the first time. Sorry. You know, last time he came through, these people brought in their maps and said that this was my property before and this is my property now. And how can the county give somebody a PUD when it's not even their land? I mean, it seems like to me, if somebody's gonna come in and zone something, as something that they should own it. So how can we give somebody a zoning whenever they don't even own it?
They,
The zoning was only for the things that were his. There were islands within the PUD that he did not own.
But how can we zone everything?
We-
I'm just asking, because I'm just curious.
nothing that is not owned, in this case, we're talking that the hog waller,
Yeah,
nothing, if you read the legal description, anything that he does not own is not included in that legal description and is not zoned PUD. It is zoned ag. There are parcels that are 25 feet wide and 75 feet deep, but when you look at the map, it's really hard, unless you start zooming in, you can't see that on the big map. But with the legal description only includes the property that Magnolia Dunes owns.
That's right. We were here, Jerry. Do you want to talk about it any?
it just makes, I just look at
They're
myself, if
obviously-
I was one of those property owners and somebody came in and did it, that just doesn't seem right to me.
No, you cannot rezone a parcel that you don't own. You can't, not from, the county will not accept
But
that
if you
application.
surround that property in the same PUD and it's
Now, that's-
isolated, that
now,
doesn't
that
seem
may
like
be-
that
now,
should be right.
it's a different case.
It wasn't really right. But it was what was decided by the
Okay.
county commission.
Yep, they did it.
Yep. So,
I thought last time he was here, he was done with rezoning and.
Joey, I hate to tell you this. It's an 15 or 12 to 18 month cycle, and he'll be back.
He's a young man.
Yeah, he'll be back.
He was young when he started.
He'll be back.
Well, you just get tired of doing it every 15 months. It's
Yes, you
ridiculous.
do.
It's very ridiculous. That's all I'm saying.
Trust us.
It's just ridiculous.
You're young on the board. Yeah.
I know.
I move we adjourn.
So move. I've got a motion for adjournment. I'm not going to accept a second.
Second.
Get out of here. It's only 3 hours. Last time was 4.